Sometimes we make things way too difficult for ourselves, like letting go of our negative thoughts and feelings. We make it out to be some big, complex process, and we need an enormous toolkit of techniques and methods and insights, and we think we need to understand our mind and all our past traumas, family influences, past programs, and on and on and on. But how easy is it to let go? It's as simple as Nike puts it. Just do it. Good to see you. It's been a while. You may have been wondering, hey, where'd that Kris guy go? In fact, some of you have been sending me some nice emails and messages on Facebook saying, hey, buddy, is everything okay? Do you need some help? Are you still alive? Yeah, I'm still here, and everything is absolutely wonderful. Now, as some of you know, about this time last year, I launched a unique course, to say the least, called the Money Alchemy Course, where I teamed up with a longtime friend and fellow releaser, Danny Attridge, who happens to be an absolute master at trading in the markets. And when I say master, that's an understatement. Danny's been doing this for nearly 40 years. And to learn from Danny, trading, is like learning from Bruce Lee Kung Fu. Now, that's the level where he's at. And we put this course together where we combine trading with releasing. Because not only do they go hand in hand, releasing is a necessary skill when it comes to trading, bar none. But what I learned through this process, and what really surprised me, is how many parallels that go hand in hand with releasing and trading. And what I learned from trading has really brought me back to a lot of the fundamentals that make releasing work. So it's been a very, very powerful process. Now, some of you, when I first promoted this course a year ago, you asked, well, how does this work? Is this like an automated system? Is it like a copy and paste sort of thing where I just implement it, let it do all the work, and I just sit back and just rake in all that sweet money? No, absolutely not. See, one of the parallels between trading and releasing is it takes practice. Lots of practice. You got to work at it. And see, a lot of people make the same mistake with releasing. You know, that they have that same mindset, like, oh, I'm just going to do a little bit here, a little bit there. All right, it's an awesome method, but I'm expecting the method to do that work for me. And I'm just going to sit back and expect to be free and get all this abundance that Lester promises. And it doesn't work that way. See, Lester's message all along is you got to take responsibility. You got to take responsibility and do the work. If you really want to be a free one, the method isn't going to do it for you. Lester isn't going to do it for you. You got to do it for you. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. Not only with releasing, but also with trading. See, originally this was going to be a 12-week course. That's what we're planning it to be. But us newbies who have never looked at a price chart before, getting up to a place where we were proficient, it ended up being about a 9-month course, all told. And it was around August time that Danny said, look, I've shown you everything that I need to show you here. Now it's time for you to get your feet wet, for you to start trading. Get that practice in. Then in a couple months, we'll resume and we'll take that conversation further. So that's what I've been doing for the past couple months, is really put in a lot of screen time in. And that's why I haven't been in on YouTube so much, because I've had a real intention to get good at trading, get as good as Danny, be a master myself. Just like with releasing. I've put a lot of work in, and that's where I've gotten a lot of results and a lot of quietude in my mind, a lot of freedom, and a lot of gains in my life. And the method hasn't done it for me. Lester hasn't done it for me. You see, you could have the greatest teacher. Like, you could have a great teacher like Lester. You could have a great teacher like Danny for trading. Just like you could have a great teacher like Bruce Lee for Kung Fu. And you could take classes with someone like Bruce Lee. And that's a great person to learn Kung Fu from. But that doesn't mean that you could just rock up to a Kung Fu tournament and say, I'll take my trophy now. Thank you. No, it doesn't work that way. You got to get in the ring. You got to prove your worth. You got to take some hits. You got to get knocked down even. Pick yourself up. Figure out, okay, well, what I need to do to move forward, and work it out and keep moving forward and be that great one. So yeah, like I said, that's why I haven't been on YouTube much. I've been putting a lot of time in with that commitment to get really, really good at it. And it's been an amazing journey. It's been a realization of so many parallels between trading and releasing. And I'll go into some of that on future videos. But one thing I really want to focus on here, and something that I learned about myself in my process of learning trading these last couple months, is one of the fundamentals of releasing. Something that Lester really drilled in over and over and over again, is that you got to take responsibility. And you just got to keep it simple. And this reminds me of when I first learned the method, because I had to apply this first lesson, this major lesson when I first learned the method. And when I was going through releasing, it brought me back to this. You see, I was never a spiritual person. I was never interested in any of this stuff. And consciousness, meditation, none of that really interested me. Until one day when my back was against the wall. And I was desperate to look for answers. And around that time, my father had given me some books, some spiritual books that opened up my eyes. And I was like, oh, wow, there's something here. This is really what I'm looking for in my life. This is the answer. This is what I want to really consume more of and delve into. And step by step, I got into releasing. And when I got into releasing, and I met my teacher, Larry. And the thing about Larry is, he's not your typical spiritual master. He's not one of these masters that give you the warm fuzzies. Rather, Larry, I liken him more to a spiritual drill sergeant. For example, if you were to call Larry up and say, hey, Larry, I need your help. My mind is driving me crazy. I can't stand my feelings right now. They're just, ugh. Larry wouldn't just pat you on the head and say, oh, it's okay, just do this. No, he'd just be quite blunt. Look, put the owner on the phone. Right now I'm talking to an ego. And you just said, my mind is driving me crazy. I can't stand my feelings. Right there, you're saying that you're the owner of your mind, your feelings. Act like it. Right? He's that blunt. And to some people, they didn't like that. They'd rather have somebody, coddle them and be nice and have a fluffy smile. But in my experience, I really appreciated Larry's approach, because He doesn't give any quarter to the ego. And his way is to just poke you right in the eye. When you're coming from your ego, he just pokes that thing and says, what are you going to do about that? And then it's up to you to say, okay, well, what am I going to do about that? I could either get pissed off and run away, or I can take responsibility for what's going on right now in this moment. And when I first met Larry, he asked me, well, what do I know about the method? And I was just bursting to tell him about my newfound realizations from the books that my dad had given me, to my experiences when I listened to the first couple of cassettes. Back then, he had his course, his abundance course on cassettes. I listened to like the first one or two cassettes, and I wanted to tell him all about it and how my eyes had opened up, and now I know. It's like, hey, I know what you know, right? So as I was getting into this big story about, I read this book and that, he just cut me off. He didn't let me get very far. He said, all those books are a bunch of crap. Don't even bother with those. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Now, it was kind of shocking to me, his response to that. And then I just kind of, and went on my way. And then later on, when we got into the class, he was demonstrating some of the simple methods of releasing, and we're practicing some of these. And then he says, okay, does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to comment on what you're experiencing? And I raised my hand. Yeah, I got a question. And I asked him some sort of question about releasing of whatever. And he just looked at me and said, you're doing it wrong. And that just really rubbed me the wrong way. And it's so different the way most people kind of patronize each other. Like, if you go onto a lot of communities, I won't point out too many. I mean, there are only a few. But let's just say, whether it's releasing or any other spiritual community, people ask questions. I have this problem. I have this challenge. And a whole bunch of people jump in trying to be helpful. Like, do this, or it's because of this, and so on. They try to explain things. Really, they're not that helpful. Really, they're jumping in to show how smart they are. And if you really pay attention to a lot of these groups, it's just a bunch of people jerking around. Nobody's really getting anywhere. Just talking in circles. And that's what most of us are used to. So to have somebody like Larry go, yeah, you're doing it wrong, rather than a lengthy explanation or, it's okay, you'll get it later, just do this, just take it easy on yourself. Just poked me in the eye. And when he did that, what I experienced it was like a tangible wall, like just coming down. It's kind of like in Indiana Jones, when he takes that little statue and he's running and that wall comes down. Actually, in Indiana Jones, it comes down slowly. But if you can imagine like a wall like that just slamming straight down, that's what I felt. It's like this big wall of resistance came down. And I felt it tangibly. So much that I was like, whoa, what is this thing? And here's the thing. I didn't run away from that. I didn't get pissed off at Larry for poking me and bringing down this wall of resistance. I didn't blame him for it. I took responsibility. I was like, wow, where'd this thing come from? It must be in me. So what am I going to do about this? And what I did was, I said, I'm not going to walk away from this. I'm not going to, sweep this thing under the rug. I'm going to stay with it. And I'm going to release on all this resistance that came slamming down on me. And I'm not going to get up until it's all gone. So I continued releasing on it through the remainder of that session that evening. And I continued into the night. And I stayed up in the dark until about 3 a.m. until it was just finally gone. I just stayed with it, released, and released. And it was gone. It's like, whoa. And from that moment forward, for the rest of that class that weekend, I got so much out of it because I just dissolved this resistance. And it was in me. I didn't even realize it was there until it came slamming down. But I took responsibility. I didn't make it a complicated process. I just used the basic principle of letting go. We'll do that in a moment here. But I just stayed with it. And I didn't leave until the job was done. So basically, just like with the trading, I have an intention and I stick with it until the job is done. And the same with releasing, and that's what gets the results. So the thing I want to point out here is that releasing is simple. But it does take practice. It does take work. And you got to watch that tricky mind of yours. Because if you haven't noticed already, that mind is not interested in releasing. In fact, it would much prefer that you stay negative, that you stay dissatisfied, that you stay in lacking. Because as long as you are lacking and you're dissatisfied, as long as you're negative, then you got to keep going to that mind. And that mind says, hey, I got your back. I'll show you the way. But it doesn't. It just spins you around in circles. And that's why so many people don't really get to where they want to go with releasing or many other things in life. It's because the mind takes over and they get lost in trying to figure out, oh, maybe I should release this way. Maybe I should do that. Maybe, I just have some sort of program and I need to do some sort of analysis on myself to figure out what that is. Or I need to add this method to it and then add this other thing until it's like some sort of buffet of techniques. And that's a ticket to nowhere. If you really want to get results, to get the results that Lester got, then follow Lester's advice. And what did Lester say? Over and over and over again. Number one, keep it simple. And number two, take responsibility. And he said that in so many ways. One of the ways that he said it is, he told my teacher, Larry, how long does it take to do a 2-week job? And see, just like Larry, who's a spiritual drill sergeant, Lester was doing that to Larry. He was poking him in the eye. And that pissed Larry off. It's like, oh, yeah, I hear you, Lester. I'm working on it. And Lester would be like, no, seriously, Larry, how long does it take to do a 2-week job? What are you doing? See, he's nudging him to take responsibility. Just do it. Don't sit there trying to figure it out or whatever. Get your mind out of the way. Just do it. Once you do it, your mind is not required for the doing. Your mind is not your friend. It's not going to help you to release. Forget all the stuff that you've read, all those books, all those great spiritual teachers that you've listened to. Yeah, it's good to listen to them, But it only takes you so far. It only takes you like that far. If you really want to go all the way, you got to just throw yourself in and just do it. So let's do it right now. Let's do some releasing and just prove how simple it is. So think about something that's not working for you in your life right now. Whether it's a goal of yours or just something crummy that's going on in your life right now. And you want that to change. You got something in mind? Now, as you're thinking about it, remember your mind is not your friend. From the neck up, all that thing is just a recording and playback machine. That's all it is. It just records things and it plays it back to you, whether you want to listen to it or not. And I'm serious when I say that your mind is not your friend. Of course, it tells you it is, and you treat it like it is, right? Because you always go back to it. Tell me what to do, right? Let's figure it out. You always are relying on your mind. But what does it really tell you? It's got a lot of negativity in it, doesn't it? It tells you to beat yourself up. It tells you about all the things that you should worry about. It tells you about all the things that aren't working in your life that you should be dissatisfied about. And again, beat yourself up even more. Now, seriously, what kind of a friend is that? So, that's what's going on from the neck up. And from the neck up, your mind does not want to let go of this wonderful negative garbage. It wants to keep it so that you keep relying on the mind. But where you can erase things is below your neck, in your stomach or chest area. This is what we call the feeling center. So, just think about this thing that isn't working for you in your life. And as you're thinking about it now, close your eyes and put your head down towards your stomach or chest. This will help you get your attention away from that mind, which we're so addicted to, and to notice now something that you usually numb out from, and you usually escape from, your feelings, because those feelings are bothersome, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to feel that anxiety. I don't want to feel that fear. I don't want to feel that frustration. So we do all sorts of things to escape, including running to our mind. Oh, let's fantasize about this, or let's go read that and think about that so I don't have to pay attention to these uncomfortable feelings. But like I said, close your eyes, put your head down towards your stomach or chest, and pay attention to those feelings right now. Just notice what you feel in your stomach or chest when you think about that thing that's not working for you. All right? And you notice like a clenching, contracted feeling? Now, wherever you feel that, open up an imaginary window or door right in front of that tightness or contraction. And what that is, it's like a bundle of energy there that you've been pushing down on. But now you're opening up. So open up that imaginary window or door and let that energy leave now, right on out that door. And you can even use your imagination. You could see this energy as, I don't know, like smoke or light, just passing through this door, just leaving, going off into space and dissolving away. And just let that energy go out that door even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And it's just energy passing through. You don't have to place any value on it. You don't have to assign any meaning to it. It's like if you get a splinter. You don't care what color it is, what shape it is, how long it's been there, where it came from. No, you just take a pair of tweezers and you pull that thing out. So you don't need to analyze this. You don't need to play Dr. Phil. It's just energy. It's not good. It's not bad. Just open up and let that energy pass through. And let it pass through some more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And let that energy pass through some more. And some more. And even more. And even more. And even more. All right, how do you feel now? Just take a check. How do you feel? Does it feel a little bit lighter? Notice a difference? And look at how simple and easy that is. You didn't need to know anything about that energy. You just needed to do it. Just open up and let it go. Now, as I've been talking to you these past few seconds, see if that door kind of closed up again. And see, this is where that dedication and persistence and that practice comes into play. See, what we're doing here is simple. Super, super simple. But you got to do it. You got to keep that door open. Because either you're open, you're just letting this negative energy go. And by the way, when you let it go, it's gone. You're actually letting it go. It's getting out of your system, you might say. But there's more there. So there's a lot of suppressed feelings that you've accumulated, at least in this lifetime. And if you believe in other lifetimes, well, there's a lot that you have potentially have accumulated. So what do? You just keep at it. And if you notice, if you felt a little bit lighter, it worked. If you keep doing what works, then, as Lester put it, what took him all the way is that if a piece of the pie tastes this good, why settle for just a piece? Stay with it and go for the whole pie. So right now, open back up. All right, bring your attention to your stomach or chest, wherever that contraction is. Open up an imaginary window or door. And welcome up some more energy. And imagine it passing right through that door. And a little bit more. And even more. And more. And even more. And a little bit more. And how do you feel now? Does it feel good again? Having that door open? Letting that energy leave? Now see if you can welcome up some more energy. Don't stop. Invite some more up. And all these feelings are just energy. And our mistake is assigning so much meaning to our feelings. All those feelings are just programs that you put into the mind. Remember, the mind is a recording and playback machine. And every feeling that you have that says, when I am in this situation, that means fear. But that's your decision. Because somebody else can be in that same situation and not have fear. What's the difference? You decided that meant fear. And you gave that fear meaning, and you don't like the fear, so you've been pushing it down and collecting it more and more. But just open up. Let the energy go. And let it go a little bit more. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And if your mind wants to jump in and say, hey, well, what about this? What about that? Well, I've done this already. No, just stick with doing it. Just stick with the process. Keep that door open. Keep letting that energy leave. Keep it simple. And by keeping it simple, that's how you're going to be free. And you see how easy it is if you do it. You just let those harsh, negative feelings go. You don't have to fight with them. You don't have to manage them. You don't have to run away from them anymore. You can be free. So keep practicing this. Again, keep it simple. And by the way, if you're interested in that Money Alchemy course, you can still learn from it. I've gone back through those recordings, all those sessions from the 9 months. I've gone back to them a couple of times, and everything's in there. It's gold. So you can do the same. Plus, Danny is going to be doing live trading room sessions indefinitely. So when you get in, you have access to join us in the live group, see what we're doing, ask questions, and learn this amazing process of trading and being a money alchemist yourself. So if you're interested in that, and like I said, you got to be up to doing the work. It takes practice. It's not going to do it for you. Danny isn't going to do it for you. But you can do it for you. And if you're into that, well, I'll put a link to it here and check it out. And I'll see you on the next video.